to the WDUN Sports Talk studios. WDUN Sports Talk on WDUN TV. We are in the dog days of summer, but we are ready to go. I'm Judd Hickenbotham. Morgan Lee, he is sports editor for AccessNorthGA.com. And Scott McIntyre is producing. You'll see him later on. All right, we got a lot to get to here, Morgan, including, I know you're exhausted, you're tired, you've lost a lot of sleep. It has nothing to do with your newborn daughter. It has everything to do with women's soccer. As far as World Cup's concerned, do you watch the Women's World Cup? Be honest now. Be honest now.
If I'm honest, I've seen about 2 minutes of it so far.
Okay, all right.
And it's not that I loathe it or anything like that. It's just I don't know. I just have a hard time getting super excited about it since Mia and all those girls retired. It's just not the same.
Since Brandi Chastain,
I was never. She was a big kind of oh, look at me, I'm the big star. But no, she was never the one that stirred the drink. It was always Mia.
Okay, all right, very good. Morgan would take a bullet for the sport of soccer. So I was just wondering.
Women's soccer, men's soccer, a little different, but yeah,
it is a little different. All right, well, so we will not mention the Women's World Cup.
Well, you can mention it. I mean, they won their opening game. They're the only team to actually win by more than one goal so far. So,
really?
Yeah.
Way to drop some knowledge on. Thank you. I appreciate that. It is baseball season. So at some point, we are going to mention some baseball because Gwinnett Braves, Atlanta Braves are both playing very, very well at the midpoints of their season. But football is king, so I guess we can talk about football. Coming up in a little bit, we'll mention University of Georgia football team. Maybe another, not really a black eye, I guess, but something along those lines. Not for UGA, a black eye, so to speak, but maybe a black eye for one of their players, and just another kind of like head scratcher. Like, well, what do they have to do to catch a break? Yeah, that's very true. So UGA talk is coming up, but we got to start with something we mentioned last week. High school football, of course, doesn't get started for another 2 months or so, but they are doing these 7-on-7 tournaments, and I don't know if Flowery Branch has played in more of these tournaments than other teams or what, but I mean, this is 5 tournaments now the Falcons have played in. They just hosted their own tournament called Air Raid, which I guess makes sense considering what they do. But so far, Flowery Branch has won two of these 7-on-7s. They finished second in a couple. Didn't do so well in yesterday's and Wednesday's tournament, but good competition for the Falcons all the way around. You were there. We got video of it, by the way, with our videographer. Just an outstanding job by him all day long going down there. Yeah. Hopefully the footage isn't bouncing up and down too much. But is that from your phone, by the way? No, that was actually from a little mini cam I've got. Right, so, but no, it was a big tournament as far as the schools that were involved. You're talking about some several 5A schools, some 4A schools, Collins Hill, Mill Creek, Norcross, Peachtree Ridge. You're talking about some pretty good programs there. So. Flowery Branch is. I don't know that they've played in more, but they've been very successful in the ones that they have played in. Yeah, and a lot of that is because of a couple new kids they got on the team, in Candler Coker and C.J. Curry, who you're seeing in action here a little bit. That's a great 1-2 punch to have. I mean, both those guys coming over from North Hall and a more running kind of offense. They played well for them last year, but just imagine what they're going to be able to do. Flowery Branch likes to spread it out. I mean, that's a great little combo to have. It is. And talking to Benji Harrison, who's the quarterback's coach, who was kind of the point man yesterday because Coach Shaw was out of town. He was just saying that he's been really impressed by Candler and what he's seen from him so far this offseason or preseason. That he's really picked up the offense quickly, just kind of ahead of the curve. And I saw Coach Shaw a couple weeks ago, and he was also just effervescent talking about what he saw from Candler and kind of where he was at this point versus where Austin Brown was a year ago. Yeah. In a similar situation, coming in with just kind of 1 year to learn the offense. Yeah, so. when you have a quarterback coming in, just a quarterback, he's got to learn the system, and he's got to learn all his players. When you can bring a quarterback and a receiver in that know each other well, they came from the same school. I mean, yeah, you're ahead of the curve in that aspect. Oh, absolutely, right? And I mean, you could tell they had a pretty good understanding yesterday because I mean there were several times that they hooked up, and C.J. Curry. A big, fast kid. I think he's listed at 6'2", probably about 200, maybe 190. He's got a receiver's body. I mean, he's lanky and but not not skinny, but got nice length to him and explosiveness, and he's going to team up with Casey Osborne on the other side, who's a very similar type player, a little bit taller, a little bit thinner, but also very explosive.
that's going to be an impressive offense to see, I think, this coming season.
Is Fly Branch, you think they're a top 10 early team, the way they finished last year? I mean, they did pretty well in the playoffs. I mean, do you think they're a team that's going to start in the top 10 in 4A?
It's a tough question just because I'm not sure what the rest of 4A has coming back, just because I wasn't as familiar with 4A this past year.
Stop people from ranking teams anyway.
I know. That's why I hate rankings, because, I mean, you're like, especially early season rankings when you have no idea what teams are going to look like. But,
right.
I mean, they're certainly going to be one of the better teams in North Georgia. I would say that they are a playoff type of, certainly playoff type of team. I think that, with the additions they've made, I don't know what they've got coming back on the lines of scrimmage, but if those are going to be solid, I think they've got a real shot at a region title. And, if you do that, the rest should take care of itself.
They're starting to build somewhat of a legacy. They got a really good coach, really good recent history, so we'll see. And they got a good 1-2 punch now with Candler Coker and C.J. Curry. Another one that starts today, as we film this on Thursday, another 7-on-7s. Johnson High School is going to have one. Johnson, not a team that you think of throwing the ball a ton, I guess, through the years, but I think it's good for these kids to probably get that experience.
Well, yeah, every team, regardless of how much they run or pass the ball, enjoys being in these situations because, for two reasons. A, it does give your quarterback a chance to get some reps in with his receivers. Even if he throws the ball 2 times a game, at least if he's, the more reps he's got with his receivers, if he throws that ball 2 times a game, maybe he'll complete those 2 passes. But at the same time, it's competition. It's a chance for these kids to get out there and go against other kids, and kind of test themselves and each other, kind of to see where they are on the season. As to what these 7-on-7 camps really mean, as far as your success there necessarily dictating success in the regular season, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, because you can have teams that, because of the styles that they play, they look really good at a 7-on-7 camp, but maybe they don't once they get to the regular season. And then you have teams that are awful at 7-on-7s but have a great season regardless. So you can't put too much stock into it, but at the same time, coaches love to have it because it's just another tool for them to coach, to see that, like I say, competitive fire in their kids and see who's ready to kind of step up before the season.
Yeah, people that watch professional sports and college sports say there's no off season for football or for baseball, for any of these. It's kind of going down to high school now, isn't it? I mean, there is an off season, I guess, a little bit, but I mean, when you're starting these things up in May and June or whenever they started, there's not much of an off season anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually coming up on the I think next week is the mandatory dead period for high school football. For all high school sports, there can't be any school related activities. But other than that, I mean, the kids can get in the weight room. The kids can go do these 7-on-7 camps. The kids can spring ball. You're right. I mean, it's some of the kids that play other sports will take some time off of it, but that's only because they're playing other sports. If they don't, if they're not playing basketball or baseball or whatever, they better be in the weight room or watching film or doing something else, because if they're not, some other kid is going to, and they're going to fall behind.
Mandatory dead period. Is that for us too? Do we have to talk about high schools? How's that going to go?
We could take it, I guess, if you wanted, but
no. There's always sports to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. So good luck to Johnson High School today in their 7-on-7 tournament. All right, we're going from high school up to college, and we'll swing on over to Athens. Take a look on what's going over there. One of the new players hadn't even been on the field yet is in a little bit of trouble. We'll mention it coming up. WDUN Sports Talk on WDUN TV. We'll be right back.
At the offices of Dr. Norman Peets, DDS on Green Street in Gainesville, patients have all their general dentistry needs explained. Ask about sedation dentistry. Dr. Peets' team of professionals puts you at ease. Dedicated, experienced, professional. He's Gainesville's family dentist. Dr. Norman Peets, 615 Green Street in Gainesville.
I will not march blindly into the fluorescent light of Monday morning to a job I do not love. I will not go with the flow. I am not a carbon copy. I will visit this website before tomorrow because I refuse to work for the weekend, even if everyone is working for the weekend. Today, I will find a job that I love. Today, I will find my career happiness.
WDUN Sports Talk on WDUN TV. We are rolling on here and mentioned some high school sports. Of course, we're going to have high school sports on WDUN, the radio station, AM 550 and FM 102.9. Once the season starts, you got the date? You have the date in your mind? When's the season start?
For most teams, it will be August 26th. Some teams will start on August 19th, a couple area teams. Okay. But most everybody's on the 26th.
All right, there you go. So I said 2 months, but it's a month and a half, man. Mm-hmm. A month and a half. Goodness gracious. All right. College football is not going to start till around that same time. First week in September, September 3rd. Yes, and we'll be talking more about college football as well. I'm going to force Morgan to talk a little bit of Georgia Tech football at some point because there are people watching right now, I know, that root for Georgia Tech. I'm not the only one. Am I?
I'm sure there are.
Crickets,
I mean, they get 45,000 down there, so that's or 52. What is it?
Is that a dig? Did you just dig Georgia Tech? Okay.
No.
All right. They sold out 1 or 2 games last year. All right, but let's talk about University of Georgia because people talk about what's happened on the field the last couple of years and hasn't been. It's been good, not great by any means. And really, I mean, we've gotten kind of used to in the offseason hearing about a whole bunch of players getting in trouble. Some of them are dumb college things that guys do. I would even put something like bar fights in there, where it's like, I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, you have to watch your back, and you got to be more careful. Some of these guys don't because they're 18 years old.
Yeah, away from home for the first time.
Absolutely. And so this year's been a little different. I think the biggest headliner is Mark Richt going out of the country for the trips he go on.
Up until late last week, the trip to Honduras was the biggest headline this summer for Georgia football.
Exactly. We'll talk a little bit about what they're looking at now. Linebacker, his name's Jarvis Jones. He came from University of South Carolina, or of Southern California. Sorry, not the other USC, the left coast USC,
the real USC.
Exactly. He's the kid that he hurt himself. Right, he had a pretty bad injury and wasn't able to play for USC.
Yeah, injured his neck, and their I guess their doctor, staff, their training staff had not cleared him to play. He had gone and gotten a second opinion, and they said, "Yeah, you're fine." So he said, "Well, I'm going to leave USC then," and comes back here to home, basically to Georgia.
Where is he from?
He played at Carver Columbus High School.
Okay, all right. Yes, I think I remember him.
Yeah, he did not play when Gainesville, the year that Gainesville went down there to play him in the quarterfinals in 2009, or sorry, that was 2008. He did not play. He had broken a wrist or something.
I remember hearing about him though. I mean, he's a good athlete. And talk about a little bit of trouble he's gotten into, because this is the stuff that kind of goes beyond. This isn't dumb college stuff. This is stuff that happens to athletes. And only athletes, and it's not necessarily illegal, but he's gotten himself into some trouble.
Yeah, apparently there's been a police investigation into the Columbus Parks and Rec department down there for some misappropriation of funds and whatnot. But anyway, the short story is that Jarvis and a guardian apparently were paid to fly back and forth from Atlanta to Los Angeles. Not back and forth, sorry, but 4 different plane trips between Atlanta and Los Angeles, totaling about $800. That's some pretty good deals, I think.
That's not a bad deal at all.
Yeah, 4 plane trips for $800.
That's my first thought. I was like, man, how is he getting these deals? That's great.
Anyway, so the guy that paid for him to go out there was a longtime acquaintance and a former AAU coach. Which, like I said, to you and me, that doesn't sound like a big deal at all. But because it's the NCAA and there's all these little minor subset B rules here. This is going to be looked at as affecting possible eligibility.
Yeah.
No one knows because it's the NCAA and they don't make anything public. They haven't officially started an investigation yet, or at least the university has not been notified that they have. University of Georgia has sent out a statement saying that they're aware of the situation, that they're going to cooperate with the NCAA. But again, we don't really know what's going to happen about all this, but there has been some precedents. There was a kid that played for Baylor who had something similar happen. I think it was last year, and it was forced to sit out 20% of the season, which would roughly be about 2 games. For Jarvis.
And the thing is, I would like to know how this all went down. Did Jarvis Jones know about these free plane tickets? Was it the Guardian? I don't know how you'd end up figuring something like that out, because you'd hate to punish a kid that doesn't that didn't necessarily know what was going on, but at the same time, he had to kind of know what was going on, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, but the thing is, when you're a kid and someone's like, well, I'm just going to pay for you to fly home, I mean, does that, you know, again, I guess we can argue, we can sit here and argue all day about the validity and the inanity of some NCAA rules and whether they need to be looked at or whatnot, but you know, at the end of the day, this is going to be seen as impermissible benefits, probably.
Yeah.
Now the question is, do they smack Jarvis Jones with this with a suspension, or is it going to? You know, will they say that? Well, maybe, you know, since he's known this guy for all his life, is it just somebody paying for him to fly home that doesn't necessarily have any connections as a booster? Because I think therein lies the big issue. Because if somebody's parent pays for them to fly home, it's no big deal.
Right.
If somebody who's conceived of as a booster pays for somebody to fly home,
there's a problem.
But I don't know.
This is an AAU guy?
Yeah,
I mean,
he's an AAU coach. So this is where the line gets really blurry, because I don't know that this guy functions as any sort of booster. I don't think you could ever make the case that he was pushing him to transfer to the University of Georgia.
But you know, this guy got something out of this. Like, he had to. I mean, my first thought, and this is a horrible generalization. I hear things like AAU and, you know, coaches and these different things, and I think, ooh, okay, if they're doing something, you know, a lot of these guys probably do care about the kids, but something like this, my first thought is, okay, he's getting something out of it.
Yeah,
not necessarily from the school. I don't know who he's getting it from, but he's getting something. He's shelling out $800 on plane tickets.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it could be, you know, that he's thinking Jarvis will take care of him if he becomes a big NFL star or something like that, or I mean, it could just be that he was trying to help out a kid that he's known for a long time, but. You know, whatever, we probably won't ever find out the real, you know, what happened behind it, but we will find out, I guess, eventually what the NCAA is going to do, because they'll make an investigation and they'll make it public eventually. But you know, again, it's the NCAA, so we're on no real timeline here.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's no. It could be like the day before Boise State or something. But Jones was going to be a starter. Was he going to be a starter? Or
he was going to end up being. Excuse me, and probably will be a starter this year at outside linebacker. He was going to be looked at to come in and kind of be the big playmaker at that level of defense. I mean, you know, Georgia's got a big defensive tackle in. That defensive line should be fine. Jarvis was going to be somebody that they hoped was not only going to be able to get in and disrupt pass plays, but was also going to be he's extremely quick, and said that he's really good at coverage. So he was going to be acting a lot, I think, covering tight ends, covering backs coming out of the backfield. So in
the end, as far as the pro prospects concerned, it does not hurt Jarvis Jones. This could hurt Georgia in a big way, considering the first two games are Boise State and South Carolina.
If he ends up sitting out those first two games, that could be huge, especially considering I'm not even sure. I'd have to go back and look at the depth chart. I'm not sure who his backup is listed as right now. It could be Chesty's own Chase Vassar. I'm not sure.
Really?
Yeah. But you know, it's going to be very interesting to see, because that guy is going to have a big impact on the season, whether it's by missing a couple games or by, you know, just being a star. So I think a lot of people are going to be sitting waiting with bated breath over the next few weeks.
And the only thing I truly care about in this whole thing is I want to find out where the AAU guy gets his plane tickets. Because if I need to go to L.A. and I can do it for under $200, I'm there.
A couple of the tickets were like $160 is listed out by the Columbus Ledger-Enquirer.
They need to dig deeper into this. I think AirTran or Delta had something to do with this as well. All right. We'll take a break, come back, and we will talk baseball. Yes,
sure.
Yes, Braves, both Gwinnett and Atlanta, doing pretty well. After this, WDUN Sports Talk on WDUN TV.
At the offices of Dr. Norman Peets, DDS on Green Street in Gainesville, patients have all their general dentistry needs explained. Ask about sedation dentistry. Dr. Peets' team of professionals puts you at ease. Dedicated, experienced, professional. He's Gainesville's family dentist. Dr. Norman Peets, 615 Green Street in Gainesville.
I will not march blindly into the fluorescent light of Monday morning to a job I do not love. I will not go with the flow. I am not a carbon copy. I will visit this website before tomorrow because I refuse to work for the weekend, even if everyone is working for the weekend. Today, I will find a job that I love. Today, I will find my career happiness.
wrapping it up here. WDUN Sports Talk on WDUN TV. Go to YouTube.com. We're all over the place there. Just search for WDUN Sports Talk, and you will find us. Okay, last segment, and let's talk a little baseball because we pretty much reached the midway point of the baseball season, both for the Gwinnett Braves. I know the Atlanta Braves, I think they played their 81st game yesterday in sweeping the Mariners, and well, you gotta like where both these teams are. Gwinnett Braves are a half game out of first place behind the horrid Durham Bulls. Oh, man. But they're playing good baseball. For whatever reason, they cannot win at home. They've won 5 in a row, and it's just frustrating for home fans because we get these crowds of 7,000-8,000 on a Friday or a Saturday, and people are so excited, and then Gwinnett Braves lose. It's like this is a team that's like 10 games over 500. I have no idea, but for whatever reason, they can't win at home. Hope for better things. Next home game will be the 4th of July against those Durham Bulls. Just a quick 2-game series. But as far as Atlanta's concerned, they're sitting kind of pretty. I mean, they have 46 wins the midway point. Last year they had 48 wins at the midway point, so they're pretty much where they were last year. But you look at the injuries they've had. They had Chipper Jones. They've had Jason Hayward out. They've had a huge question mark at the top of the order, which may be solved by Jordan Schaefer. But all these different injuries, and yet still they're right there with the Phillies. I think they're 4.5 games back, but second best record in the National League. Yeah, I mean it's certainly nothing to be frowned on at this point. I mean, like you said, 4.5 back. I mean that does sound a little rough, but then you look at the wild card race, and I mean thank goodness for that. You wonder if baseball would ever think about expanding. I know there've been kind of talk on and off about maybe adding another wild card spot or something like that because you look at teams like the Braves, and they've got to be a poster child for that. I don't understand why they wouldn't add another, 1 or 2 wild card spots just to get other teams involved. But, which is what they really want to do that, and that's actually going to happen. I do not like the idea, but that's fine. Hey, look, as far as baseball is concerned, I'm not very progressive. I think it's great because I mean, at this point of the season, how many teams are just like, eh. Yeah, that's true. I don't want it to become like the NBA or like the NHL. No, but half the teams make the playoffs. Yeah, I don't think you'd ever get to something quite that bad. But yeah, anyway, no, Atlanta's been pretty impressive so far. I again, to be able just to overcome all those injuries and put together, a really solid record, I guess, frankly, just based on so much of that pitching. Yeah, exactly. And barring injuries with Atlanta, the Gwinnett Braves got to be sitting pretty because their 2 best starters, Mike Minor and Julio Teheran, they're going to be at Gwinnett all season. So, again, barring injury or anything happening to the 5 starting pitchers in Atlanta. But that's good news for Gwinnett because a lot of times you see these guys just come and then they go. Mm-hmm. And you're left with guys that are coming up from AA, and then you finish the season very weakly, but hey, Gwinnett Braves are in pretty good shape too with their guys. It all starts with starting pitching, and it's like an embarrassment of riches for the organization in general. Yeah, between Tehran and is Tehran? Tehran. It's probably Tehran or something. I'm not sure. It's a fun name to say, regardless. Yeah. Call him Julio because that's fun to say too. Yes. Yeah. I wish when I was down there the first day, it was kind of disappointing to have to do an interview through a translator, but. Yes. Anyway, he's learning. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. Probably all the good words, just like I know in Spanish. That's right. But some colorful words in the clubhouse. Yes, but between him and Minor, I mean, just 2 impressive guys. I think again, and another name I'm not quite 100% sure. Is it Costanza or Constanza? Constanza. Yes. Every time I think that, I can't stand you. Can't stand you. Right. From Seinfeld, but. Anyway, certainly a reason to go out, and if I didn't have a little one at home, I think I'd be getting down there a lot more, just because it's if nothing else, a fun day out. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is. So 4th of July, next time they're going to be at home, go check them out. All right, that's it. Morgan, have yourself a great week. Same to you. All right, and Scott McIntyre, thank you for everything you do. You are a fantastic dude in general. There's your Queens Wave. We'll talk to you next week. WDUN Sports Talk on WDUN TV. Check us out on YouTube.com. See you.